And now, Rate That Album, Season 3, with Paul Muad'Dib and Joe Fremming. Two guys who know stuff. Hi, and welcome to Rate That Album, the back and forth podcast review that myself, Paul Muad'Dib, and my good friend Joe Fremming do. We try to do it every week, but we run into times where we can't. Joe, we had a little bit of a break. How are you doing, sir?
I was doing better until I had to hear this album.
Yeah, so we are doing Ice Nine Kills' latest release at this time, the Silver Scream 2, Welcome to Horrorwood. This was a fan request. And I want to make it very clear, Joe, and I think we should discuss this just for a minute, as we don't really talk much before the podcast. I know your experience with the Joe Down. You guys don't do fan requests anymore.
We made that mistake, Paul. We made that mistake. We don't make it anymore. In fact, when people suggest a movie to us that we already have, like, kind of on a back burner that we're going to do, we typically then save it for the next year.
Nice. Nice. Just to be snarky?
Yep. Yeah. Just like, nope. We were going to do it, but you had to go and ask us to do it. Now we're just like putting it on the back burner. We were so burned by 3 seasons of Fuller House that. Yeah. And I typically don't. Yeah. So I don't like doing it for that reason. And then with this, I won't. I know you said you're going to do it. I won't take fan requests just for the simple thing is, like, I don't want people thinking we're going to be really into something they suggest, and then we end up shitting all over it.
Yeah, so this
I feel bad.
Yeah,
doing that, and it doesn't make me feel good. But I have to be honest when it's like a group is just not my thing, and especially when it comes to heavy metal, like that. There's so many like subgenres and everything that everybody has their own thing that they gravitate to, and if I don't react or relate to anything, I'm pretty harsh about it.
Yes, and I think that you brought up something that I really wanted to hammer on before we start this is, I'll take the fan reviews, but you got to understand that just like Joe said, I have to be honest. I don't want to go hurting fans' feelings. Music is such a subjective, personal thing that, two guys, we talk about it, you and I have, both of us had our own kind of world life in music in different ways. And so that's why we have this podcast and discuss it. And sorry, my dog was freaking out. But yeah, I encourage it. Like, if you really wanted to bring it to us, but please, I don't want anyone being hurt or upset. That, oh my gosh, you didn't like what we put out there. Like, just understand that we have to be honest about the review that we're giving on this particular album. Especially with band I never heard of, right? Like, I get it. There's bands that I enjoy that I know people don't, and that's because maybe I saw them in concert, or a special person introduced me to them, or I was at a certain point in my life and I heard a particular song, and that's what led me down the rabbit hole of liking a particular band. You and I do not have that experience, especially with artists we've never heard of, or the fan requests on things, because I will say with this Ice Nine Kills, I did not know about them until this fan brought them up to me. Did you know about them?
Yep.
Okay. So you knew kind of what we were getting into. I did not. And I wanted to do a lot of research on this because, especially bands I don't know about, I guess, what did you know about Ice Nine Kills, and kind of what was your experience with them, with me having none?
I just knew they were like a metal band. I knew it was a style just from the little bit I've heard. Not my thing. Mm-hmm. And that was basically it. Like, it just, again, when it comes to metal, like, I gravitate towards certain things that I like, and this is not what I particularly enjoy about of a metal genre. This is just, for me, it wasn't. There's moments I'll I'm not going to complete. There's moments on this album I thought, okay, I kind of like that, but
yep.
Overall, it's just like I gravitate toward more like Just like the weird droney stuff. Like I love Wolves in the Throne Room. I love Boris. I love Sun. I love Mastodon, Lamb of God. I love all those bands.
Yeah,
And so this is kind of like more poppy, emo pop. It reminds me a lot of the music that came out in the late '90s and early 2000s, like emo punk mixed with what was like kind of like new metalish.
Yes.
Stuff.
Yes.
And I really did not like that genre of music then, and I haven't softened on that stance over the years. I've discovered. So.
Yeah, so Ice Nine Kills falls into metalcore, post-hardcore, melodic hardcore, and symphonic metal. I guess, and again, we're only taking a snapshot on one of their album, but I guess in their early, they were a ska punk band at one point. You can hear that in this, I think. So I just want to talk a little bit about the band itself, because again, this is nothing I knew of. So I went and did a lot of research on it. So as you and I talked about the end of the last podcast that we did, the name comes from the substance Ice Nine, from Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut.
Yep. The substance that causes the end of the world.
Yes. So, Ice Nine Kills was founded the year you and I graduated. So in 2000 they came together, and their demo was entitled "The Pop Punk Ska Years," and it wasn't even I guess they had it in 2002, but they didn't even release it till 2009. They had like a real EP that they did, and there's been a lot. I don't know what's going on, but there's been a lot of turmoil in the band. So the band was started by Spencer, and I'm going to butcher the name. I'm always terrible with last names. Charnas and Jeremy Schwartz. And they've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 past members of the band leaving from over these 22 years, which isn't unusual, but it's always like, it's also kind of to me like, what is going on there when you have a band that's losing that many members and bleeding out that many people? But if I remember correctly too, this is something that happens like with the metal genre a lot of times, that they find other, they're always doing like other little things, and there's a lot of. Go ahead.
If you're not like super successful, like within the first 5 years, you only get like, this seems like a working band mostly.
Yes.
So it's like, that's what's going to happen, because original members are going to get old and they're like, hey, it's like the Todd Barry thing about Fugazi, like,
yeah.
Can we charge like maybe instead of $5 a show, maybe 10, so I don't have to sleep on your floor anymore?
Right. Yeah. No, and I think that's a valid point, is that once again, you get people that, I think that's a good thing there you brought up, where, hey, we haven't hit it yet, so I'm going to leave. And then, bands either hit it, they don't. But yeah, they're a working band. I mean, I think one of their big breakouts was in 2009 for the Warped Tour. And that's what really got them. And that's also when they started to shift. So Schwartz left the band in 2009, and this is when they shifted to experimental metalcore. And then they had some success out there. They were in the Warped Tour a couple of times. And by now, the only original member on the band is Spencer. Everyone else who has started there in 2000 has left and gone. And there's some self-referencing, and we'll talk about that in the album. But yeah, so really that's what they've really become known for now, is the Silver Scream series, is the Silver Scream and Silver Scream 2, which is where they're really focused on making music around horror genre.
Yep.
Unfortunately, on January 1st, New Year's Eve, their former one of their bassists passed away right after the success of Silver Scream. I will tell you, I dug into that. I'm not, addiction's a hell of a fucking thing. When you see a 31-year-old person pass away on January 1st, you kind of know what happened there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people know people or family members or friends who've gone through addiction. It sucks.
It sucks. It sucks. And I'll never, make fun of it or point anything at it.
No,
it
absolutely not. Yeah, it's horrible. It's a horrible experience because there's nothing you can do. Really.
There's nothing you can do. So it took them a couple months to work things out, and then in March another bassist left, and so there's been a lot of turmoil in terms of what they've done. So I will say the fact that with everything going on, Spencer is a hell. This guy is not going to give up.
and that's good.
That's great.
This is a popular band. Like, I know I'm in the minority not being a big fan of them. That's fine with me. Lots of people like them. Like they played Fargo, I think, like this year, and I believe it a pretty good turnout. So yeah, it's just not my thing, man. Not my thing. Even though horror movies and heavy metal are I love. It's just how it's packaged here is just not my thing.
Yeah, and I'll start there too. Is this should hit everything for me? Like I should love this album. From me and knowing what I am, I love horror movies. I like metal. This should be like a slam dunk for me. And there are things that work and there's things that don't work for me. And we'll talk about that as we go through the songs. But so with this album, it came out in 2021. And there's a lot of people that were involved and helped out on this. We'll talk about the rating of it and the reception of it afterwards. But I think we should just get into it. So Silver Scream to Welcome to Horrorwood opens up. Let me get my track listing. Here we go. With the opening night. Okay.
So this kind of tricked me because, it's so this is kind of like a nod to the intro to Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You have the narrator explaining a grisly scene and it hasn't been discovered until today or whatever.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, I can get into it because I'm kind of a, horror infused metal. I love my Misfits and I love Dan Marison's The Gods Kill,
yeah, absolutely.
I'm a huge Danzig fan. So horror stuff mixed with metal is up there. And then, so this is okay, this maybe not too bad. Maybe I misjudged this band for a while. I'm thinking this, not even hearing one note of music.
Right. And it's for me, it sets the tone for what it is in a different way. And for me, when I first heard it, I was like, I don't know. I don't mind the horror thing, but it also felt like it's somewhat especially since this is a very modern album. He murdered his fiance. I don't know. I don't know. For me, maybe I am getting too sensitive in some way, shapes, or form. But I was like, that's probably. It felt a little tone deaf, and a little
it's horrorcore, man. Maybe it's just because I'm so used to it that that's fair. Doesn't faze me, but
Nope, that's totally cool. So I will concede to you on that one. So then we get Welcome to Horrorwood.
Yeah, this is where it all starts going downhill.
So, second song, Joe's like, it's going downhill.
Yeah. Again, I don't. There's things, and we'll get to it the things I did like. I think it's more when they lean into the humor.
Mm-hmm.
I respond a little bit better to that. So we kind of discussed this before. We were chatting about that. And so when I think of horror themed metal,
mm-hmm.
punk or whatever, this sounds like such generic emo, screamo or whatever that when emo and metal met or whatever. It sounds like it's these into, it sounds the same to me as, what was going on in the early 2000s, like Linkin Park and Papa Roach and shit. Like, it was like a lot more like, it's like that genre, but it's like also like a Pro Tools mess of like sudden jarring stops in breaks.
Yes.
Like, multiple overlaps of vocals, which I'm just like, it seemed confused to me, and I get this is part of their genre, so it's just something I'm not into. But since I'm not into it, that's going to be my nitpicks.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that happens, and then it's tonally all over the map musically for me, and I just
yes,
when I think of horror themed metal, like I'm thinking Hellbilly Deluxe, you know what I mean? Like I'm thinking of White Zombie and Danzig, and
I'm 1,000% with you on that. And the thing is, okay, so I'm glad you brought up Linkin Park, because I hear a lot of Linkin Park throughout the film.
I do too.
There is a lot of Linkin Park. Spencer had to be a big fan of Chester.
Yeah.
And so you feel that. The other thing that I feel in here, Joe, and this is going to sound weird, because I kept going to Mr. Bungle, especially on the California album, where I was like, they're trying to do what I think Mr. Bungle and Mike Patton himself is really fucking good at, is being able to stop and shift. And
but Mr. Bungle's organic with it. It feels like that's where the song should go, where this feels forced. Like,
yes,
it's jarring on here where Mr. Bungle, it flows, and the breaks and changes are jarring, but they use it to their advantage.
Exactly. And I don't want to discredit anyone here. First of all, I want to say Spencer is a damn good singer.
Yeah.
However, I will say that I prefer when it's more like rock, and there's a lot of My Chemical Romance in here as well, and I prefer that. And when he was bringing in some of the guests to do some more of the heavy metal stuff versus himself, I found myself finding that I enjoyed them than I did. Like, he's a good singer, but I don't think he's as good when it comes to to the death metal part of it. It's more kind of that rock emo side of it. He's much better. Leave the growling and to the guests is kind of my thought on that one from what I gathered. The other thing that I also feel like is going on here is this feels very opera-esque to me as well. To be. Yes, it tries to be somewhat of an opera, and I don't know if that translates. Now, again, the musicianship is very good, but also the other problem is when going back to why do we like Danzig or Dan Marison and White Zombie and Rob Zombie and the Misfits, and even I'm going to do Thriller by Michael Jackson. Mm-hmm. There's too many major chords throughout this album. There's not enough minors.
Minor chords are perfect for like a horror, because it has that inherent creepiness to minor chords.
Right. This is too bright for me in that regards. Like, there's times where I was expecting the music to go a certain way because of the theme and the vocals. And I got to admit, too, I struggled with a lot of the vocals in this in terms of just being, I found myself having to go in and listen to the lyrics for a majority of it because I just couldn't understand what he was saying. And that's why when we get to the particular song, I knew it wasn't just me. Because when someone else comes in, I'm like, I can understand what that guy's doing, and I can understand the words, but I can't with you, Spencer. Like, that's stick to the other stuff, because I feel like there's a lot of things here that are smart that you're saying, but I have no fucking clue how you're doing it, and what you're saying until I fucking take the time. And sorry, I'm driving. I don't want to look up the lyrics while I'm fucking driving. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Welcome to Horrorwood kind of starts out with this, kind of like I said, My Chemical Romance kind of emo, and then there's a lot of the Pink Floyd, Beatles, psychedelic use of planting like telephones and real life stuff and mixing
samples.
it in. Samples. Yeah.
Sampling. Yeah. Which is like, again, it's a thing. But again, like you said, it's like open chords and like, why say, let's look at a song like Is There Anybody Out There? The inherent creepiness is that it's an A minor.
Yes.
And it has atmosphere. And one of my biggest problems with this album is how clean the production is for a metal album.
Bingo. That was throwing me out of the fucking... Again, I pictured, instead of having like the creepy thing... So let's move on to Rash Decision, which is a song about cabin fever.
Movie I've never seen.
And I really enjoy Cabin Fever. I think you'd like it. There's actually 2 versions of it. It was done and it was remade, and both are really good. And it's Eli Roth. But my mental image, like when we did Hellbelly Deluxe, and we were listening to Danzig, like my mind goes to horror. When I'm listening to this, my brain goes to Queen. And that's not what it should be doing. My brain is going to seeing a band on stage and trying to do like this rock opera thing.
As if Linkin Park was trying to cover a night at the opera.
That's exactly it. Like I'm picturing these guys on a stage at an opera performing these songs. I'm not picking or seeing the movie that they're trying to reference or the lyrics they're trying to do, because there's some dark and
compliment the lyrics at all. It's the music is so far removed from what, except for like a few moments in the album, which we'll get to. But it's again, it's just again, it's too clean for like a horror theme movie, and it's kind of like my biggest gripe about modern horror movies today is they're also too clean.
Yes.
They're too shiny and whatever. And it's just like, when it comes, like, this is going to be an off rant, but like,
please rant.
The best thing about like why I gravitate towards 70s, 80s, and 90s horror movie is the grit on the film. And that's because they're done cheaply. There was no HD cameras. Nobody had, so you had to get really low quality film stock to make these movies. And that just adds to the inherent creepiness of it. Now everything's on HD cameras, and it just looks bad. Like I saw the trailer for that new Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I'm like, I have no fucking interest in watching this. This doesn't look like Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the other thing is because that there was that graininess in the film that you're talking about, there was also creativity because the horror masters. Tom Savini, John Carpenter, Wes Craven, they knew that they were working with this low-grade film, and they used that to their advantage. There was creativity that stemmed from it.
Toby Hooper, Sam Raimi,
yes,
all used it to their advantage.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that pulls me out of will pull me out of a horror movie faster than anything else, or even like a suspense or a sci-fi movie, is the set. We have... Like, I don't know when this happened, but, looking back at the old 70s, 80s, even 90s horror films, someone's in a basement. It looks like they're in a basement. It's dirty. It's dusty, and their clothes aren't clean. And, like, I'm watching these newer films, and, and again, I watch a lot of Z-grade schlock. I really, really do. If it's got, like, fucking 1 star on IMDb and it's free on fucking Prime, I've probably seen the fucking thing. Okay. So
that's where the magic is, man. That's where the magic is. That's where you find the really good, weird movies. Like,
yeah,
I love Shudder, but whenever I see a Shudder original, I look up the reviews right away because it's usually glossy and super, looks really slick, and I just don't like that in horror. I just don't.
Yeah, and like one of the things that we saw was back in the day, filmmakers and people. I don't. And again, you're working on a small budget. They worry about if if clothing was going to get dirty or not in a scene. You know, when I see someone God, I forget what movie it was. I was just watching it very briefly because I ended up turning it off because of the set design on it. Because I'm supposed to believe it's back in the 1800s, and this person's wearing a perfectly white shirt with no dirt or no dust on it, and with a 90s 2000 hairdo, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then they go into this mine, and the mine is squeaky clean. There's no dust, there's no dirt, there's no anything. And I'm going, I can buy into a lot of shit if you give me the right setting and scenery. Yep. And I going back, and why I'm saying here is that I don't feel like the setting and the scenery and the production matches what they're trying to do. So it's pulling me out.
Get some, it's like, this is so Pro Tooled, cleaned up, then it's just, I mean, if we go back to the last album we talked about with Funhouse, the errors and the grit on the analog tape make it work. And here it's just so clean and to go back, there's
sterile,
maybe is that right? Yeah, it's like a dentist office,
Yeah, it's too clean. You're exactly right. And one of the things I praised and thought was really cool in that happens here in this album but I don't remember which particular song it was, which is another problem with the album. We'll get into that when we get there. Is that you could tell the drummer fucked up at certain parts in Funhouse. It happens here. The problem is it works on Funhouse because of the way the production was, the fact of what it was. It doesn't work here because it is so sterile and Funhouse and clean and Pro Tools up that it becomes very much like, why the fuck do the drums just do that? And like
exactly, it's like you listen to Funhouse, you expect the errors, and that adds to the charm. You hear a bad drum beat on a Steely Dan album, it really kind of ruins the song. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly. And again, there is some really good stuff here, like the lyrics talking about the movie. Like, we came here today to get away, but now perfect plans are all fading quickly. I cannot deny it's do or die. Infection grows immensely. Like, I know this is, and again, I know what cabin fever is. So yes, you're hitting on the themes there. But I don't understand, number one, what the fuck you're saying over everything, the production and the vocals and everything. Like, it's just, and I know this got a lot of praise, and we'll get to that. But for me, I was like, God damn it, this is just pulling me out of the whole thing. And I want to like it.
Yep. Because, again, I love the concept of the horror movies and all that.
Yes.
But again, it's just it's too clean. It's too... Yeah, it's all over the map, totally, and it just the weird breaks, and it kind of just turns me off, especially on stuff where I'm like, okay, I'm kind of liking this, and then it's just like, oh my god, you way overproduced this shit. Like, this is way too overproduced. This is Axl Rose on Chinese Democracy overproduced.
And I will say there is a song that made it to my playlist off this album. There is, and when we get there, we'll get there. But even that one, I'm like, the good outweighed the bad in it, but definitely there was some bad in it. But I can forgive it. But so next we get Assault and Batteries, and I didn't mind this one. I like
this was one of the so there's 3 songs on here that has elements I really liked, and that's when they lean into the humor stuff. And it's here, like, so let's get out of the way. Child's Play is hands down the most unbelievable horror movie of all time.
Absolutely,
because Chucky's the only way for Chucky to work is momentum, right? Because he doesn't have muscle or anything.
Yep,
he's a doll. So even if Chucky's running with the fastest momentum he can muster up, he still couldn't stab anybody.
Yep.
Why don't any of these people just punt him off a building?
Right.
Shove him in a bag and throw it in the river.
It's so bad. Like, again, and as a kid, like, it was one of the first horror movies I saw, so it terrified me. But it also a lot that had to do with, it was more Brad Dourif than it was the doll.
Dourif he's an MVP on a lot of things I like.
Fuck yeah, he is.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yep.
I loved him in Deadwood.
Yes.
He played the alcoholic doctor. Like, he's just in so many things where you're just like, holy shit, Brad Dourif is in this.
He was in Dune. He was in David Lynch's Dune, and he was in what I think was the best, and they should have gone off of it more, was on that line, was Exorcist 3.
Yeah.
Holy fuck, I love that movie. Like, I think because Exorcist 2 was so bad, no one even gave Exorcist 3 a shot, and Brad Dourif in that is fucking amazing.
Yeah, he's him and George C. Scott.
Yeah, and he was
like, yes. Exorcist 3 is actually really good. I saw that. We'll get into these two because they show up in a video, I believe, for the next song. But I saw it on the last drive-in on Shudder with Joe Bob Briggs and Darcy the Mail Girl, and I was just blown away. Like, I had no idea Exorcist 3 was that good. Like, it's because it was always like,
yeah,
everybody said it sucked.
Well, Exorcist 2 was so bad, so people are like, God, it can only get worse. And no, it got really good.
So Assault and Batteries I like because it's playful. You get like basically a police or a TV news, and obviously they don't have the rights to say the characters' names, but like, shootout at a department store. It's basically setting the whole intro of the first Child's Play movie. But what I do like is the one of the melodies, because again, it's like they have 16 different melodies going on at the same time. Is the Toys R Us jingle?
I don't want to grow up. You won't ever grow up. You won't make it past 6. Yes.
Yeah. So like, like the more playful stuff, like I kind of relate to more. Plus, it also that fits. Yes. Honestly, this is one of the things where it fits the vibe of a Child's Play song.
Well, and if the more humor stuff to me fits more tonally with what they're doing musically. Exactly.
Like if they did a humor is more like tongue in cheek with this stuff, I think it would have gone over better for me. But again, a lot of people like it. So what the fuck do I know?
Yeah, no, I'm with, Joe, you and I are on the exact same page there, 100%. So the next one is shower scene, which is obviously Psycho.
And the video has Joe Bob Briggs, I believe, as a judge in the trial. With, they can't say Norman Bates or whatever, but and again, like this, it's because it's basically recounting the plot of Psycho, and they have like the elements where it sounds like the clash of the shower scene, the re parts. Yep. Again, they're kind of leaning into these two songs are like leaning into like probably the strengths of this band, and I don't know why they don't lean into that more.
Yeah, 100%, and they really should. Now, the one thing I will say lyrically, like I don't know if he was struggling with this particular one, but like the chorus, I hope saying goodnight doesn't mean saying goodbye. Now under the pressure, we're drowning together, going down the drain tonight. Like I get that's a reference to the blood.
Yeah, but it's like he's combining like a breakup song with.
Yeah, and
which is really weird because in this context it would be Norman breaking up with his mom, and I understand there's the incestuous nature in the film, but like we're going just by the film, it's just merely hinted at.
And I will say with Psycho 2, the ending where he is fighting with his mother after getting out of jail and he's hitting her with the shovel, there might be pulls at that, but besides that,
we're not talking about Psycho 2.
We're not talking about Psycho 2. We're talking about Psycho. But I just think that lyrically, outside of like the direct references that are happening there, it feels a little too loose to the source material that you're trying to pull in.
Choose one lane or the other. If you're going to do like more of a personal song, then don't base it off a horror movie.
And I want to say, because I guarantee you there's some fans right now listening to this going, well, why don't you make it better? No, because I can't. Okay. Yeah. I'm not sitting here and shitting on the guy. What I'm saying is that there's definite talent here, and I think it could be better.
I'm just saying for like what I think is strengths and weaknesses, and
exactly.
I don't care. Like I don't want to make an album like this. It's not something. If I were to make an album, it would be fucking this. So fuck you.
Exactly. So the next one we get is Funeral Derangements, which is based upon Pet Sematary.
I have no idea what. This one just kind of blurred.
Well,
like,
and here's
the next
the
song
thing.
With me, it's just like again, it's like with the Zappa album, like except that it took a lot more quicker than with Zappa. Like it was just like the tail end of Joe's Garage where I'm starting to like get exhausted. Like I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Track 6.
You and me both, Joe. You and me both. Like I had to actually, when I listened to this album, I couldn't do it in one go. I had to break it into chunks. So I listened to a couple of songs. I would go to some podcasts. I'd listen to the next set of songs. I'd go to a podcast because I couldn't do it. It was exhausting. Now, the thing that sucks about that, Joe, is again, lyrically, when you look at the lyrics, this one makes sense about why it is Pet Sematary, but the vocals are so fucked up on it that you'd have no fucking clue. I mean, he literally says, with church bells ringing, I'll start digging fast. They'll never know he's missing. Now the cat's back in his cage. Oh my God, Gage. Like, boom. I know right away. That is, and I should know right away, but I didn't understand a fucking word you said.
Yep.
And I'll admit this one never had a chance with me because the Ramones' Pet Sematary is actually my favorite Ramones song of all time.
Yeah, I mean, Ramones did it. This should just not even. Why even attempt it? You know, like, or if anything, do a cover of the Ramones song.
Yeah, do a tribute to the Ramones version because you're never gonna get it. Rainy Day, which is a reference to Resident Evil, which is loose in my mind.
I've seen one Resident Evil movie. I think it was like the third one. I don't know. They're out in the desert. I never played the games, so this nothing.
Yeah, and again, the lyrics, these ones are more tongue in cheek. Where evil has taken up residence, no face in what's white and red. Will truly save for a rainy day. Them going down a little bit more. Become a soldier for the controller or battle till you beat the game. Like, okay, cool. I get that. Something, it's dark, something is creeping, in the dark, something's creeping. And it's like game over, you died. Okay. Yeah. I can kind of get behind that. But again, the breaks and the changes, and one of the things that's really odd to me is it seems like for like a first couple of songs, the Welcome to Horrorwood theme kept the da na 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 like is playing through some of the songs, and then there's when you get to about rainy, when you get to Hip to Be Scared, which is next, that has kind of a different hook, and that hook starts to kind of make its way down. So I feel like this was an attempt to be somewhat of a concept album or a rock opera. And I instead, for me, it felt like that story I told you before where that band played. And I was like, okay, first song's really good. Second song, kind of like the first, but all right. Third song, fuck. It's going to be this all fucking night, isn't it? Fourth song, yep, I'm going to go outside and smoke and drink till they're off the stage. This is what this is to me, and that's why I had to do the chunks and break it up. So next is Hip to Be Scared. This is my favorite song on the album.
Yeah, I like this. So I have a soft spot for American Psycho. I love the book, and I love the movie. The book is one of the most disturbing things I've ever read in my life.
Oh God!
If you've never read it,
so dark, so dark.
Let's just say the book is interesting in that it's from Patrick Bateman's point of view, and it's mostly lists of how people are, what what designer clothing they're wearing, what they're eating. It's just like all this minutia, and then the only time you get like details of how people actually look, because the thing of the book is these yuppies look the same. You can only get like details of people as Patrick Bateman's brutally murdering them. Yeah,
and isn't there, if I remember in the book, and maybe I'm remembering with another book, but isn't there a horrible death with like rats and
I believe it's his ex-girlfriend.
Yep. Yes. Okay.
And he brings her to his apartment where he's able to lock the door on the inside, so only he can unlock it, and then. Let's just say there's a tube, sulfuric acid, there's cheese, and a rat he's been starving for a few days.
Yep.
And let's just say the tube's not going in her mouth.
No. Okay. Yep. That is the right book because I do remember.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yes.
It's fucking disturbing.
It's
man.
fucking disturbing.
Again, it was just like it's fascinating, but it really is fucked up because it's like it gets so intense with the murder scenes, and then it goes back into this weird him going to dinner and trying to find it's like, and I think the movie did it as you could, because if you're going to do a direct adaptation of the book, there's no way it would ever be made.
No, it would never be made. No.
And I think they did. I like the movie American Psycho for different reasons, because I think the movie does better the parody of yuppie culture.
Very much so.
And the book is just like, because it's so ongoing, and again, it's exhausting. It's like the Zappa album. Like,
yeah, no, absolutely.
It's just like, but that's how it's intended to be. And we're in the movie. You got Christian Bale doing, it's just
hamming it up, and he's great at it.
He's great, and he's such a nerd. And like, I love people like think Pat Bateman's like this really cool guy. He's the biggest fucking nerd.
He's the biggest fucking
in the whole
nerd.
book and in the movie. He's just this idiot who just like loves like like the most his view on music is just like, as long as it's aesthetically pleasing, he likes it. And if they do anything weird, like yeah.
And also what I enjoy about it too is I felt the movie. God, it's been so long since I read the book, but I know in the movie for sure you have that question of, is it happening or is it not happening? Like, is it in his mind? Is it not?
And in the book, it is happening in the book.
Yeah, in the book, it's happening.
He ends up. I don't really want to spoil it, but he gets called out by a cab driver.
Yes, that's right.
At the end, I just spoiled it. So, spoiler alert! If you're ever going to read that 700 page book, American Psycho, that's been around since 1990.
I'll cut that part out, Joe. I could take that out so we don't spoil.
No.
All right, cool.
Spoiler
I'll leave it in.
alert for a 35-year-old book is past.
That's fair.
All right, so Bateman gets called out by a cab driver. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's real in the book. In the movie, they film things purposely, like they film scenes twice with Willem Dafoe. Like, one take would be him not knowing if Bateman's the killer, and the other take would be with him very much knowing Bateman's the killer, to create that ambiguity.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I did like that. I mean, it's different, but it's also like why I enjoy Clockwork Orange as a book and the movie as a book. So it's like two different complete meanings you're getting out of each of them. But yes,
I like American Psycho, and so like when he does he's talking about Ice Nine Kills from Patrick Bateman's point of view, with the infamous scene with Jared Leto as Paul Allen, and Bateman's going off about Huey Lewis.
Yes.
Hey
Paul. Yeah. Do you like Ice Nine Kills? Not really. Their early work was a bit too seen for me, but when the Silver Scream came out, I think they really came into their own commercially and artistically. It's good. And the other thing that I like about it too is, what's interesting, that you and I both like this one because we were just complaining earlier about Papa Roach, and this has the lead singer of Papa Roach in as a guest on it.
Yeah, that's fine. Like, again, I liked it. Again, I have a soft spot, and they lean into the humor.
Yes,
which, I mean, you kind of have to. Like, American Psycho's a dark comedy,
and I want to say the change of when it switches to the Huey Lewis style of music,
slightly different from Hit to Be Square to Avoid.
Slightly different, but enough that it's there. That transition worked for me, and because that was more like the Mr. Bungle style transition, where it's like this. It's gonna go there, and it should go there. And I was happy that it did. I honestly wish he could have gotten the rights from Huey Lewis to use it in here, because I think that would have been even more genius. But for what they had and what they could do, I really, this is my favorite song. And it was the first single to be released off this album. The next one is Take Your Pick, which is from My Bloody Valentine, which I enjoyed the 1981 a little bit more than the other one, because I felt like the remake, although it had Jensen Ackles from what's it called, Supernatural in it, I felt that the ending, they're trying to do something like the original was great for what it was, and you should have just stuck with that, where they tried to make it more cerebral, and that's not what My Bloody Valentine was. It was a fucking 1980s slasher grinder film. And speaking of grinder, you have Corpse Grinder on this one from Cannibal Corpse, which I really enjoy. And again, this is the one that I was talking about when I was comparing the Corpse Grinder's growl, or George Fisher, with Spencer's, and I can understand what George Fisher is fucking singing and saying. I always could. You know what Cannibal Corpse is saying. I can't with Spencer, and that's the problem. There are metal bands out there where you can understand what the person is singing, and that to me is a little bit more of a talent than just being able. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should.
Exactly. Yep.
So yeah, this one was, again, I enjoyed it because it does have Corpse Grinder on it, but that's really the only, because I was just like, there's Cannibal Corpse. But
see, for me, it was like, oh, we're back to this again. All right, here we
go. Yeah. And again, it's switching all over the place tonally throughout it. Again, I mean, if you know My Bloody, I mean, it's cool that they're doing a song about My Bloody Valentine, because I don't think it's that well known of a horror movie. But the fact that they are, again, nailing points on it. Can't stop this gas mask lunatic. He cannot be confined. He's got a bone to pick and a fucking axe to grind. He's got a bone to pick, a fucking axe to grind. I mean, the whole thing is set in a mine town. And yeah, and they bring up even the name of the mine, the Haniger Mine, in the song. It actually works, and I think ties in. If you know what My Bloody Valentine is as a movie, this one works lyrically in tying it to the source material. Next one we got is The Box, which
fuck up a Hellraiser song.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you bring in members of Fit for a King.
And Atreyu.
That's how you fuck up. I've never been a big Atreyu fan.
No, I've never. Like, that's another one of those like emo punk band or hardcore band. Like I was just like, yeah, this sucks.
They, I mean, their first album was but then after their first album, I was kind of out. I was like, and maybe for me, that's like. I'm sure you have those people out there going, man, you weren't real fan, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, hey, I get it, man. You know what? I love Modest Mouse, and I know people that bailed on Modest Mouse after the first couple of albums. So yeah, call me out for it, because I get it. Like, I know that's kind of the same route that Atreyu went. Was, yes, they refined their sounds a little bit and went a different way, but I prefer that earlier iteration. Yeah, how do you fuck up a Hellraiser song? I mean, I get it. Is it pain or is it pleasure? All hope is hanging on these hooks and chains. If you know Hellraiser, it's hitting on it. It's a paradox. Think outside the box.
This is, if you're doing a Hellraiser song, the music should absolutely be matching.
Yes, and it doesn't.
Fuck. There's so much amazing visual stuff in the first Hellraiser movie, and the second one. Second one's I prefer over the first one myself.
Oh God, yeah. And to say that, actually, it's really funny that we're doing this, because I recently got Cinemax on a deal. Cinemax
Skinemax, huh?
They have all.
Paul's looking at a softcore porno, huh, Paul?
I wish they don't have it anymore, but that's fine. That's what Pornhub's for. So the thing is that they have all the Hellraiser movies on there. And I've been like, oh, fuck. Like, me and my wife have seen all of them. Like, all fucking, what is there now? 9 of them?
That's
I think.
Quite the journey, because considering, like, at least one of them that was just made just so they can continue to hold the rights, which, I forget which one it was, but it was like a completely different movie, and they just kind of shoved Hellraiser into it so they could hold on to the rights. It was like a hard-boiled detective movie about a serial killer, and somehow the Xenobites show up.
Yes, so that was, I can tell you exactly which one that was. It was Judgment. No, Revelations. Revelations was the one that was done, that was like done like a Blair Witch style, It was made like on literally like $100,000 budget. It was it was just designed that to keep the name of it, and then they did Judgment afterwards. But yeah, I mean, anyway, I've seen all of these, and I was sort of rewatching them again. And one of the things they bring up, if most people don't know, that the box's name that he has is the Lament configuration. So again, props to Ice Nine Kills for including that in on the song. Awesome.
Yeah. I think the lead guy in this who writes the songs, I feel like he's a smart dude. Know these details again. He focuses on, he gets these small details right. For me, it's the presentation.
It's the presentation, right? Absolutely, and I'm with you on that one. So yeah, I was expecting more and was hoping more because again, I really enjoy the Hellraiser series. Again, the books is different as well. Like in the book, and the thing that people I think miss. The first two movies do this well, but Clive Barker's whole thing was Pinhead was not a villain. He was a neutral.
Yep.
It was the individuals, and he was more like karma. And that gets lost, especially like hell on earth.
Especially after he's no longer involved. Then it's not a major character in the first movie.
No, it's not a major.
Kind of make him more of one in the second one because they sold rentals because the box of the first Hellraiser, you got this guy with a really cool look. He's not like that big of a character in it. He's the Judgment guy who shows up with his crew, which of course my favorite being Butterball.
Butterball, yes. Yes.
The Chatterbox is a close second.
Chatterbox is my favorite. I love Chatterbox, but yeah, Butterball is phenomenal.
The big fat Xenobite, I love him.
And then in the third movie, they start making Cenobites like out of her camera guy, where and the DJ shooting fucking discs, CDs out of his fucking skull. It goes off the rails. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people when they got Hellraiser, they were expecting a slasher, that type of thing, and what they got was really a softcore thriller. With some really weighty ethical narrations in there.
Yeah.
And I think that blew people away.
I've never read the novella, but I'd imagine
you should read the novella.
The man is he's very creative in like the best ways for disturbing shit.
And I think that's why Clive Barker never got really picked up. So my mom had bought a Clive Barker book, and I can't remember what it was. And she got because my mom was a big reader. My dad built her a library in our family room, and it wasn't anything fancy. It was just like, hey, you just put up shelves, and so she could put all her books on it. And she got a Clive Barker book, and God, I can't remember for the life of me what it was because this is 32 years ago, 31 years ago now. And she stopped reading it because a kid, a 8-year-old black child, gets used as a sacrifice, and it's very graphic. So I snuck down one night and read this book, and I could see why Clive Barker didn't get the recognition that Stephen King did, because Clive Barker was more disturbing.
Yeah. He went to the real dark place.
Yes. So next we get The Fly, which good old Jeff Goldblum. Okay, this one doesn't work tonally. I mean, lyrically.
Yeah, doesn't work.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. I mean, I spent my life learning to fly, despite a constant descent, I was born to fly. I'm sorry. This one probably could have been left off the album.
Yeah. Again, you're following up with like a Hellraiser, it's Cronenberg.
Yeah.
Make it gross. You're following up a Hellraiser song, which you should be making it gross because it's a gross movie with a gross concept. And yeah, this is where I think these type of songs, I think would be doing better if you had more of a, not this sound.
Not this
more
sound.
Of like a, I hate to say it just because the guy's a piece of shit, but more of a Marilyn Manson approach.
Yeah, it's and that's the thing. There's a void. There's a void. People want that Marilyn Manson sound and things like that. There's an absolute void for a band to come in and step in and take that over and run with it.
Yeah,
and I think
Ice Nine Kills isn't it?
No, unfortunately, it's not. And again, this one had Buddy Nilsson from Census Fail on the one helping. But yeah, when I was listening to the lyrics again, my mind, the way it is, learning to fly. Where does my mind fucking go? Gilmer,
goddamn Gilmer,
god damn it, Gilmer, get out of my Ice Nine Kills. I'm sorry, guys. I'll go play guitar elsewhere. It's just, it didn't feel like The Fly. It wasn't talking about The Fly. Yeah, it's more just
my favorite song about the movie The Fly is the Misfits version, and it's talking about the Vincent Price version. So
yes, Joe, yes. So let's move on.
It's like with the Pet Cemetery, like a 70s, 80s punk band already did it better.
Yep. So let's not go there, or again, do a cover of it. Next we get Worst Vacation, which is Hostel.
I didn't like Hostel myself.
I didn't like Hostel either. I mean,
the only thing I like that Eli Roth has done is like he did a trailer for the Grindhouse double feature, which is you can find it. It's amazing. It's Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez. It's like there's a Blu-ray. I own the Blu-ray of the whole thing with the fake trailers, and he does a fake trailer in it. And I love him as the Bear Jew in Inglourious.
Fuck yes, he's amazing as the Bear Jew. One of my favorite fucking characters in a movie is the goddamn Bear Jew.
That movie's just so. I'm such a. I guess I'm just such a huge. I'm a fan of Tarantino. So.
Yeah, God, yes.
I like the older he got, the weirder he got with his movies.
I love that. I guess they're doing the Star Trek one. I guess they're doing it.
I thought they weren't going to do it.
I heard
when they do Pulp Fiction in space, and like all the fanboys were like, "Oh my god!" And he's like, "I'm absolutely. If I do Star Trek, it's going to be Pulp Fiction in space."
Oh, maybe that's what I read. Was him saying that, because I want Pulp Fiction in space. Give it.
I do too. Like,
please give it to me, because again, guys, Star Trek fans, if you're listening to this, understand that there's different worlds, there's different timelines. Again, the Calvin timeline,
doing different genres. Like, I mean, here's the thing. Like, look at kind of. And I hate to do this because like these two fan bases seem to hate each other, but kind of see what Star Wars did with Mandalorian.
Yeah,
they make it like a Western. You can do different things in these universes. Like, my problem with Star Trek has always been so stale and sterile. Like it's always just like. It has its moments where it's more fun, but it's always like in each movie kind of feels the same as the one that came before it.
So, as a Trekkie, I grew up watching old Star Trek reruns, and then when The Next Generation came on, that was a weekly show that me and my mom would watch together. And then Voyager, we watched that. We didn't get into Deep Space Nine, but I got into Deep Space Nine.
Can I say the one I did like, and all the fans hated, was Enterprise?
And fair enough. I mean, the thing with it is that, and this is what I think people need to understand when it comes to these fucking fandoms, right? There's a place for all of it. Look, I understand that Star Trek was Gene Roddenberry's view of utopia. That is not lost on me. Okay? And when I try to explain to people that it was supposed to be a Western in space, and people go, that's not what Star Trek was. That's absolutely what the vision Gene Roddenberry had, was literally came out of his mouth. Is Western in space. Okay.
Lucas went and stole it for Star Wars, where he basically did the Searchers.
He stole space. Let's be fair. George Lucas stole Star Trek. He stole Dune. He stole John Carter.
I just listened to a podcast. Tarantino does a podcast now, and
awesome.
They were talking about what's it? The Dark Star. John Carpenter's student.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, they were like talking about like how Lucas ripped that off.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, Lucas was a guy that he was a sprinkle on top guy. He wasn't an original idea guy. He was the guy that sprinkles the things out. So he took all these things and went, I can make it better, and did it and didn't really credit anyone for it. So take it for what that is. Yeah. But yeah, no, Dark Star is another great movie that people don't know.
Yeah, people should also know, like, the only reason The New Hope works is because his ex-wife edited it to make it work.
And
it was a mess. He showed it to... the first cut he showed to Spielberg and Brian De Palma, and they were like, "This isn't good." The opening crawl was like 5 minutes long.
God.
Brian De Palma had to rewrite the opening crawl. He's like, "What are you talking about, Sith and shit? Like, none of this is in the movie."
Oh my God, yeah, and that's the other thing too. The other reason that the first two movies worked, and why people go Return of the Jedi is kind of is because, especially the first two, he had a lot of people around him saying no, and he was getting a lot of idea, being like, "Hey, George, do this, do that." You want to know what you get when you get George Lucas surrounded by a bunch of yes men? You get the fucking prequels.
Yep. Yeah, like the best one is the one he had least to do with, which is Empire. Mm-hmm. And I think you talked about it on Rate That Movie with Scott, where like Lucas actually apologized originally when Empire came out because he thought everybody hated it.
Yes.
Which is like, no, George, no. People love this one.
People love that movie.
It still stands up to me. Like, not all the Star Wars movies stand up still for me, but that one does.
Empire is one of those amazing lightning in a bottle movies. Yep. It just worked on so many different levels, and it was so great. But yeah, no.
But we're talking about the Hostel.
We're talking about the Hostel here, and yeah, I'm with you on this one. I didn't really care for Hostel 2. I do recommend you see Cabin Fever with that Eli Roth. That it actually is really good.
I do like the pun though in the song title.
Oh, the worst. Yeah. Worst vacation. Yeah, and it opens up with German, and I will definitely take that. That's fucking awesome. There's a lot of German sprinkled throughout this. Again, it works if you know Hostel, gorgeous girls, drinks and drugs, all your fantasies. But again, if you don't know Hostel, like that's you're not going to catch the reference of the song. So that is the other thing I will say. I do believe, and this is one thing that you and I have talked about with some of the bands throughout the years of the podcast we've been doing. Some of them don't know who their audience is. They know exactly who their audience is on this. Mm-hmm. And if you're into it, I can totally see it. You are into it. And again, I wish I could. I want to.
Yeah, it's a presentation. It's just not presented in a way that I personally enjoy. Like, I know a lot of people do. So, like, again, I'm probably in the minority.
Yep. You and I both.
Fine. Like,
yep. You and I both. Yeah. Next we get Ex Mortis, which is
it's pisses me off because it's so forgettable to me. Like, I don't have a lot of memory of this, and it's the Evil Dead song.
It's the Evil Dead song.
There's two trilogies I would consider perfect. Mm-hmm. The first one is the Back to the Future trilogy.
Fuck yes.
And the other was the Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness. Like, I can watch those movies whenever. Like, if it's on TV or something. If I'm at my family's house and it's on TV, I'm plopped down and I'm just watching.
Yes, completely agree with you. Yeah, they're even Evil Dead 2. Like, if you watch it right after Evil Dead 1, where it does the phantasm thing, where it recaps the first movie within the first.
It's a soft remake.
Even though it's a soft remake, yeah, it's really weird how that goes. But then you go in the Army of Darkness, and my God, I really wish they had done a part 4 and done more of that. Like,
hey, Ash versus the Evil Dead was good, and I'll take that. That was a good series. So.
Yes, and I am hopeful because originally the new Evil Dead Evil Dead Rises, which is coming out next year, was going to be an HBO Max exclusive, and apparently it screened so well that they're taking it off of HBO Max and making it a theatrical release.
That'd be good. But people, the thing with that one, and people need to know, Campbell's he's retired
he's done. Yes.
But it does take place in the same universe as the first 3 movies.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Bruce Campbell has said straight up he can't do it. He physically can't do it anymore.
The man's like 60s now. Like, people let's calm down. Let's not work Campbell to death. He's a fucking national treasure.
He is a national treasure. And he said that he'll come back for like video games and voiceover work and things like that. And he has been an active voiceover person in video games for a long time, looking at you, Spider-Man 1 and 2. But yeah, it is. We
asked him a question and he answered it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is
awesome. For the Joe Down, I was watching Fargo. It was a fake soap opera, and they're watching in the cabin before the wood chipper scene. And Bruce Campbell's in it because Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi were friends with the Coen brothers.
Sure.
And I noticed that, and then in season 2 of Fargo, the TV show, he plays Ronald Reagan.
That's awesome.
So I said, like, so you're the only one who's been in both the movies and the series? And he's like, yep, I believe that is true. And it was pretty wild, but yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome. He just seems like a really awesome dude. Even his movie, My Name is Bruce. Man. Yeah, he does. He really respects and loves the fans. I mean, to the point where I've watched him like on podcasts, like promoting the new Evil Dead game, and he's playing it with his son, and he was very much in the interviews and talking with the fans. I think he's one of those people that is truly grateful for having the life that he's had because of the fans.
Yeah, and, I mean, it's just he's just seems like generally just really cool dude. I'd rather be talking about how awesome Bruce Campbell is. Like his books, his autobiography, forget what it was, if Chins Could Kill or something. But
yes, I think really, that's what it was.
It's really good, and it goes into like how they made the first Evil Dead movies and all that. It's really interesting. But yeah, we're talking about Ex Mortis, which is
we are
the song, and it just didn't work for me. It didn't feel like an Evil Dead. I feel like these songs should be complementing the movies they're referencing, and except for "Hip to Be Scared" and "Assault and Batteries," they don't.
So there is a big miss here, and I will call out Spencer on this one. There's a big miss here in this album, in this song, and I don't know. Like, sure, you're referencing "Swallow This" and "Groovy" and "Join the Army of Darkness," but you missed the 3 words. You should have done the 3 words.
Kata, Veratu. Did you say the 3 words? Sort of. Yeah, I got the gist of it.
I got the gist of it. Yeah. You missed that part put that in the song. That would have done a lot of fan service right there. And I feel like that was a miss.
Yeah, I said the words, maybe not completely clearly, but they were
every single little syllable.
I love Army of Darkness so much.
I love that
so much.
It's so good. I was so happy because I got to share it with my 14-year-old. Yeah, I finally got to watch it with my 14. I'm like, you got to watch this movie. This movie fucking changed my life when I saw it. Like this opened up.
You primitive screwheads.
That's just pillow talk, baby.
You got real ugly real quick.
You got real ugly real quick. So good. It's so fucking good.
Sally.
This is my boomstick. And then we get Farewell to Flesh, which obviously is Candyman, which is based on the second movie, Farewell to the Flesh. Mm-hmm. And again, at this point, I gotta be honest, Joe, I was so done. I was so burnt out.
I was pretty checked out by this point.
I get it. Again, mirror, mirror, I'm the Candyman. I'm always inside. Comes to the mirror 5 times the Halo Legacy. Makes sense. Candyman, 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 Candyman. Yes, you're referencing the stuff. You're doing it there. I will admit, I thought this was going to be short and sweet at 47 minutes. This felt really long.
It sure did, Paul.
It sure did. And again, so I want to discuss, because I think it's only fair. This album is universally loved, by the way.
Yeah.
It's got a 4 out of 5 on AllMusic. Distorted Sound gave it a 9 out of 10. Hysteria Magazine gave it an 8 out of 10. Carrion gave it a 4 out of 5. Metal Hammer gave it a 4 out of 5. New Noise Magazine gave it a 4.5 out of 5. Roxanne's gave it a 9 out of 10. Spill Magazine gave it a 4.5 out of 5. Upset Magazine gave it a 4 out of 5. And Wall of Sound gave it a 9.5 out of 10. People love this album. And for me, and it is ranked on, and I don't know, I mean, again, this list is kind of silly to me, but well, I'll put it out there. Loudwire put it on number 45 of the 45 best rock and metal albums of 2021, which there wasn't a whole lot. You know, in terms, I did go back and I wanted to hear it, so I listened to Silver Scream 1. Compared to Silver Scream 1, there is an evolution here that I will give Colo credit for. But again, unlike, I keep having to go back to Mike Patton and Mr. Bungle, where the switches and the change-up and those types of things, they're smarter. And I don't want to, that's not the right way of describing it, Joe, because there's a lot of smart and a lot of really smart stuff on this album.
Yeah.
And it's, I guess, more thoughtful. Let me put it that way. The movement and things like that are a little bit more thoughtful. I feel like some of the movements here were literally just to do the movements.
Yeah, they're like pointless jump scares in a horror. You know what I mean? Yes,
Joe. Yes. Pointless jump scares. Like, okay, now we're going over here. Now we're going to go over here. Now we're going to go over here. I think, oh God, which song was it? Was it maybe Farewell to Flesh? But there's one of the songs where I think I counted six different movements in it. And let me point out, one of the things I really do enjoy about metal music is, and I don't think, and only I think the real metalheads get this, is there is a synergy between classical music and metal music.
Yeah, we discussed that in
yep.
I forget that. It was like our third. Second or third. Yeah.
Yep. We discussed that prior. But yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I feel that synergy here, but I feel like the opera aspect of it got in the way.
Yeah.
And there was a couple times where the drums really took me out of it. Again, I'm very, 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 very picky about my metal drums. And if the drumming isn't doing it for me, I am out of the song. Drums to me are goddamn really fucking important in a metal song. And I just,
it's important in music in general. For me, like, I know every drummer's not going to be a Danny Carey or a fucking John Bonham or whatever, but I wish more bands would pay attention to that shit.
100%. But when I'm listening to a metal song and I'm getting a really hi-hat, tinny, like tick, 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 tick a sound, that's taking me out of it. I want that kick drum. I want that bass. I want you to match that low growl tone and the bass work, and let the highs be taken care of by the guitar. But let the drums be part of that guttural, dark sound. Don't give me fucking snares, and don't give me goddamn Saint Anger. I don't want it. I don't want it.
I almost like kind of like more bassy tribal drums in metal than hi-hats and shit like that. Like,
yes,
get rid of the hi-hat on that. You don't need it, or the snare. Like, just
throw it off your set. Throw it the fuck off your drum set. You don't need it unless you're going to do a drum solo at some point in the night to show off your drum solo skills.
Let me clue you all in on something. Nobody wants to hear a drum solo. Nobody.
Not unless you're Neil Peart. Not unless you're
Neil Peart. Otherwise, you're going to be like some Grateful Dead asshole, zoning out for like a half hour while everybody's going to go take a piss.
Or
like John Bonham could do like a half hour drum solo, but again, these are exceptions to the rule. Like,
and
Danny Carey, if he did a Tool live set where he did a live drum solo, I'd be fucking there, man.
Absolutely. Or Phil Collins. I watched him. My dad was a huge Genesis and Phil Collins fan. And I can't remember which tape it was. Yes, it was on VHS. It's that long ago, where there's a thing where Phil Collins goes back into the drum set with two other drummers, and they have like this giant drum off, and then they start all drumming together. That's fucking cool. Like,
it's fun to see, but it's not really fun to hear. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like with that sort of stuff, you need the visual with the audio. At least for me, I would. It's hard for me to listen to a drum solo unless, again, like you're one of the greatest drummers of all time.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Again, Neil Peart, I've seen like his big 17-minute drum solo that he did, and I can listen to it because I've seen it, so I can see it in my head. Like, you're right. I like to see that and like have that visual when I'm seeing the drum solo. Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, again, get rid of it. Just get fucking rid of it. Now, the bonus track did have some acoustic versions. And
yeah, you said you were going to do that?
And you know what? I enjoyed it. I did the orchestral versions and the acoustic versions. Again, anytime you could take a song like this and strap it down to acoustic, it works. I couldn't see any of these songs being done acoustically just because of the jarring. And that's the thing. It's not there. It's not there. It doesn't really have all those switch ups. It's more traditional. Again, I mean, Spencer does consider himself a composer, and I will give him that. There is a lot of composition on this. And
you know what, Paul? After listening to this album, I'm not going to give him that.
Fair enough.
No. Just like, you can call yourself that, Chief, but based off this album, no, you're... Pete Townsend's more of a composer than you. Joe. We sat through that Tommy soundtrack, so
that was rough. Yeah, I mean, I will say again, I don't mind it. I keep going back to Mr. Bungle. I don't know. I mean, I know why, because it really reminds me of like, this is trying to be Mr. Bungle, and I do think it's close. But you can't. It doesn't. No, in no. In terms of you have the idea.
Yeah,
you have the idea. Now let's work on the execution.
Yeah, the execution again. That was the problem.
Yeah,
I feel like if they were able to,
I would love
be more coherent with the sound.
Yep.
And vibe, like again, we got comedy with, It just didn't. Yeah, it's too all over the map for me.
What I would love to see on their next album, and what would really pull me in, is first of all, in the words of Henry Rollins, stop piss tying, quantify, overly corrected. If you can't hack it, you can't do it, right? In terms of, I would love to see them get away from the Pro Tools. I would like to see them legitimately do some old, like, Black Album, Funhouse, Misfits, get back to basics and record together, and don't be afraid to, again, you're talking about some gritty movies. You're talking about horror movies. Allow the dirt and the warts and the scenery and the production to reflect that. And because, believe me, the fans are really going to appreciate it. If you gave me a really, I mean, hip to be squared to me is the one thing that works because it fits the tone of American Psycho.
Yeah. Sheeny and glossy and
Assault and Battery fits Child's Play. Those are two, you nailed it. But then the other ones, it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, the Hellraiser song should sound something akin to Nine Inch Nails, like,
give me chains, give me the rattle. I mean, that's one of the things. Like when people are playing,
make it sound like a Ministry song. That would be Cam FDM. Make it sound like Cam.
Joe, exactly. Because one of the things in watching the Hellraiser movies again is, when they're playing with the box and the thing comes, what do you hear? The chains. You hear the jingling of it. There's that visual of the lights coming through the walls and in a dark room, and you get that sound that comes with it, and match that tone. There's so much that are there that I I'm hoping they do a Silver Scream 3, and I hope that they work with a producer that will allow them to not be afraid to make gritty, non-sheen music. And maybe that's just Spencer, though. Maybe he doesn't want to have that.
That's what he wants, maybe that's what he likes.
Yeah.
Fine. They got their fans, man. I don't think they're going to do what you're suggesting because the fans like this.
Yep, and that's fine. And again, they have they have a lot of fans.
Yep.
So you know what? That's fine. They're going to do just well without you and I on it.
They've been doing just fine without us. So.
Yep. So, and again, as we said at the beginning, we're going to be very fair and very honest when it comes to the album. So, Joe, would you recommend Silver Scream 2, Welcome to Horrorwood?
Nope. It's just, for me, it's just not my thing. So I said that it's very clear. It's just not my thing. The way we described it, and if you listen to it, this is one of those things. It's either you like it or you don't. If you like this kind of genre of metal, emo, whatever sounding stuff, then it's for you. But for me, it's just not. It's just not my thing. So I would say no.
No, I do want to make it very clear that I am a metal fan and an emo fan, and I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no, and I'm actually going to basically parrot what you just said as well. If you like this kind of thing, it could be for you. But as a metal fan and as an emo fan, I didn't feel there was enough in here for my style of emo and my style of metal for it to work. But again, if you are a fan of it, by all means, and this is something that you can do it. The symphonic metal and metalcore didn't work for me. That union on this album. And again, this may be the future of metal. This really may be. And this might be a proto metal. I mean, I'm not ignoring the ramifications of what this can really do, because there is a lot of genre bending in here. And I think we could be talking about them in 20 years and saying, well, God, probably not. I hope I'd be dead by then. But but then going, hey, this is where the metal genre changed, was bands like Ice Nine Kills. And but no, I gotta say I can't recommend it. It's for me, the jarring against 6 different movements on 6 different things, and it being the screaming and not being able to understand it. And there are things I like in it. Like I said, there is a song that made it on my likes. I would say check out Hip to Be Scared. I would say check out Hip to Be Scared. To me, I think that's the shining star on the album, and it's way up there compared to the rest of the songs on it. So
it leads into the strengths of what I think this could have been. But again, whatever. Like, they got their fans. I don't see myself talking about Ice Nine Kills in 20 years, but I've been wrong before. And thanks for the suggestion.
Yes.
Did this. Maybe not the review you're looking for, but I'm always open to new music, and I feel like we were pretty fair on it.
And
please don't be offended, because it's just our opinions, man.
Yeah, and again,
you can probably suggest something to Paul, and then we will love, So don't stop. Just keep feeding Paul suggestions.
Yeah, please. I will take
masochist.
I will.
He opened the box.
I did open the box, and I will take fan requests. And again, I want to be very, we are going to be honest. And I think, as a listener, as a fan, I think you should. That's us, like, respecting you, because the last thing I want to do is come on here and be like, oh my God, blah 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 blah, and then go, oh my God, like, we couldn't even be honest because I didn't want to hurt that fan. Like, that's not fair to you. You listen to us. You're a fan of the show, so let's give you your real honest review. So I hope you appreciated that. And again, I'm always open to it. So just because we didn't like this one, Joe's right. There's so many different styles of music out there, and I'm happy to know about this band. I'm glad. I mean, I got a song on my I got a new song on my playlist, so that's a win for me.
Just be happy. It didn't give me the same visceral reaction that Lindsey Buckingham did.
And this is better than Pat Boone. This hands down. This is
This is better than Lindsey Buckingham and Pat Boone.
Yeah, I'll say it even. I will take this over Saint Anger as well.
Yeah, well, Saint Anger's pretty. That's bottom of the barrel, Paul.
Yeah. I'm just saying. It's better than a Metallica album. So there you go. That's a win. Joe, what do you got going on at the Joedown, sir?
This weekend we'll be doing a review of Point Break, the original.
The original, yes.
Yeah. Johnny Utah, I think is the. I've never seen Point Break. For whatever reason, I've never seen.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna
just shut up about it, Paul.
No,
I haven't seen it. You're gonna spoil it.
I'm not gonna. Yeah, just like you spoiled a 35-year-old book. I will say.
To be fair, people don't read these days, so there's no chance in hell people listening to this. If they hadn't read American Psycho by now, there's a good chance they weren't going to.
They never will.
Maybe our fans with our book readers, and if I spoiled it for you again, it's 30 years old, so not my problem.
So I will say that I feel like the downside to it is the movie has this really mythic cult status that I don't know if it can really live up to. So that's all I'm going to say. I don't
have any of that. I just know it's about surfer bank robbers. That's
perfect.
All I got. So
perfect.
And then we're following that up, Paul.
Oh boy.
With my pick, which is going to be First Blood, the first Rambo movie. Oddly, one of the best anti-war movies I think ever made, exploring PTSD at a time when nobody really knew what that was.
Huh?
And the sequels that followed, which completely just forgot what made First Blood really like critically acclaimed. We'll be doing that.
Well, and I believe First Blood had our CSI. No, what was it? NCA. What was that show? CSI Miami. Our good friend David Caruso.
Yeah.
It was his first role.
Hey. It also has one of my favorites of all time, Brian Dennehy.
Brian Dennehy. Yes, yeah. But
is the anti-veteran cop of a small town in Oregon.
They do First Blood, not me.
Rambo doesn't actually directly kill anybody in that movie, too.
No, I really enjoy First Blood. If you've read the book, it's a brilliant book, and there's a lot more that dives into the PTSD, and it's very cerebral in terms of like you're getting his thoughts, and things like that. So yeah, the book is also, I think, just phenomenal as well. But yeah, the rest of them became schlock, especially Rambo 3. Boy, that aged really well.
The brave Mujahideen Afghans.
Where he's actually running around with a guy named Osama bin Laden. Yeah, not the best. Awesome. Oops. We're sorry. Yeah, Rambo 3 is a shit show. Well, that's awesome, buddy. All right. Well, Joe, what are we doing next week?
Well, I figure it's time to put on our cowboy hats again, Paul. We're doing a country album.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, this is quite the genre change. We're going from.
We're going to be doing the album "Straight to Hell" by Hank Williams III.
Ooh, you are a big fan of this album too.
I like this album, but I know how you feel about country, so I'm not really expecting you to like it. But Hank 3 has an interesting story, and I think the Williams family alone has an interesting story. But yeah, we'll talk about this. Hank 3 is interesting. He was in bands with Phil Anselmo from Pantera. He has a damn near death metal band called Ass Jack. So yeah, we'll delve into like Mr. Hank Williams III.
Awesome, because I know jack and shit about Hank Williams III, so I'm really excited to learn about that. Absolutely, no, I'm down. I mean, I've heard you talk about him throughout the years, and I knew we were eventually going to go down this road. So I'm fine.
With the horror theme, I was like, man, like I could piggyback on that, but I kind of want to do a Misfits album around Halloween. So we'll be going back to Dan Marison come Halloween.
Oh yeah, I think Halloween. I have a lot of like dark albums I'm gonna do around Halloween. So yeah, totally. I love Halloween. Halloween month is going to be awesome. And I will tell you, Joe, and fans, there may be another podcast in the works. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I've promised some other things that were going to happen and didn't come to fruition. But there has been some discussions about a possible another podcast coming the Joe Down way, sir. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'll believe it when I see it, Paul.
You know what? Me too.
You've burned me in the past, you son of a bitch.
I'm such a horrible friend. Fuck. All right, Joe, do you want to take us out?
No.
This has been Rate That Album with Paul Muad'Dib and Joe Fremming. Thank you for listening.